Hi, I'm Ruthie Bowles, owner of Defy the Status Quo, and you're listening to the Defiant Business Podcast, your daily 10-minute dose of business knowledge. So we're going to go ahead and go right into things. Today, it's going to be a little more motivational than the last couple of posts. So this is one of those ones where I think that if you know a small business owner who's having a tough time, or maybe even save it for the next time you're having a tough time, this will be one of those things to listen to, because this one we're talking about how your business needs your belief. And I know if you didn't believe in it, you wouldn't have started. I get it. But it needs your belief the most when it's hardest to believe in. So, how do we typically start? Entrepreneurs typically start pretty high on hopes and dreams. You've got all these great ideas and you have a very set way of how you think things will go. And when they don't go that way, it can be pretty rough. Because then you flip the side of that coin. Okay, so how do we normally start? Super happy, super motivated, super excited. And then how do we typically quit? Because a lot of entrepreneurs do end up quitting or, putting their business on indefinite pause. But how do we typically quit? Usually it's at a low point. And that is the point that I'm talking about today. That is the point where your business needs your belief. It can't all be, rainbows and butterflies. You have high points and you have low points. But when you quit, it kind of shows that you weren't completely vested in it in the first place. And I kind of take that as maybe not being completely vested in yourself. Like you're not completely invested in your dream, and that's not including things like, hey, I still have to make rent. I've got kids. I got to pay for groceries and stuff. Those things aside, most of the time we don't typically have to completely quit our businesses, stop building them when things get rough. You may have to take side jobs or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you quit all the way. And so I was thinking about this while I was reading Think and Grow Rich, which is a fantastic book by Napoleon Hill, and I suggest that you read it. And what made me think about it was how people can manifest, their hopes and their dreams. And the problem is that we often let self-doubt cycle about in our minds, and it impacts what it is that we're able to accomplish. There's a story that he tells in the book, and I don't feel bad for telling you. It's not going to ruin it. But he tells a story about a guy who, was mining or trying to mine a vein of gold. And he was trying, and he was just like, you know what, forget it. And then another company, another set of entrepreneurs took it over, and it turned out that guy had stopped 3 feet from gold. So he was struggling, he was at a low point, and he gave up. And in the story, he gives you like the guy's name and everything. So it's like a real thing, but it was very fascinating. And then he also continues that man's story throughout the book to show that, okay, he learned his lesson and he didn't quit, the next time he had an endeavor. So your belief in your entrepreneurial dream is the first step, like your fierce commitment. And you have to believe in it, I think, so much that it doesn't leave, at least not a lot, of room for the doubts that get in and kind of poison the dream, because those doubts cycle in with all those thoughts. And the more you focus on the negative, the more you attract it to yourself. So I can say that I honestly would not be here without that sort of like fervent, fierce belief. And I had just a few people that I talked to about it all the time. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And freelance writing. I just need to make this much. When my maternity leave runs out, I just need to make this amount, and if I can increase it to this amount, then that would be better. And okay, this is what I'm going for. This is what I'm going for. I just need one. And that was how I did it. I talked about it a lot. And I was vocalizing my ideas and, okay, like, how am I going to keep this from happening? How am I going to make enough? Who am I going to talk to? How am I going to start networking? I was so focused on it. I didn't leave any room for the doubts. The doubts came later, don't get me wrong. And once I started reading Think and Grow Rich, I realized why some of the things I had tried didn't pan out. I wasn't fully committed to them. And when they didn't work out initially, at the beginning, when they didn't work out, I said, oh, see, that's it. And so when I was looking at how some of the other projects that I've tried to get off the ground since I started freelance writing, I realized that I didn't focus on them and believe in them and push past any possible doubts or failures. I didn't do that. And so that's why those things didn't work out. And so I'm not going to make that mistake again with future projects. And I advise that you don't either. So, I started in July 2017 as a part-time writer, and then in January of 2018 was when I was like, hey, I think I could do this full time. And January was my first $1,000 from my business type month. And I doubled my income after that for another like four or 5 months. And so I've been a consistent 4-figure writer on my way to 5 figures in a month. So 4-figure per month writer on my way to 5 figures. And that is going to happen before the end of the year. That's what I'm manifesting. But yeah, it's probably going to happen next month or the month after that, which is really exciting. But, that's where I started. And that's, and here's where I am now. And I've got my eyes on where I'm going. So don't forget, your business needs your belief. You have to focus on that. And while doubts are important, they help us with self-preservation. Don't focus on them to the exclusion of everything else. Your dream deserves your hope, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so that's been your Defiant Business podcast episode. I know it was a bit more, like I said, it was a bit more motivational than the last couple, but it was just something I felt moved to speak on. So if you enjoyed this, if you know somebody who needs it, if you're in a group of business people who you think needs it, go ahead and share it on Facebook. But I feel like this is a message that people need. Your business deserves, it needs, and it deserves your belief. So again, this episode of Defiant Business Podcast, and we will see you next time.